Hello, my friends. I'm back again. It seems like I just cannot do without you. Some adult conversation and all those things. Anyway, let's have a quick chat about Harry and Meghan's holiday podcast. No, I did not subscribe to Spotify. I tried, but it would not allow me, and after the third try, it demanded that I pay $9 before I could continue. Well, there's just no way I was going to do that. Besides, I knew that it would be a matter of hours and I would get the full gist of what the podcast was all about via the Daily Mail and other papers. Well, I'm not going to talk about the content of the podcast because if you guys want to know how I feel about it all you need to do is go to Ashley on Danger Zone's video on the same subject. She said it better than I ever could. Anyway, let's have a quick look at who appeared on the podcast with Harry and Meghan. Well, there was James Corbyn, an English actor and host of the Late Late Show on CBS, and he is worth approximately $30 million. And Elton John, worth approximately $500 million. Deepak Chopra, Jose Andreas, worth about plus minus $50 million. George the Poet, who's a word artist, rapper, and has a podcast on social and political issues. Tyler Perry, we all know who he is, actor, producer, worth approximately $1 billion US. Then there was Stacey Abrams, a Democratic Party American politician. Christina Adane, I think that's how one pronounces her surname, youth leader of Bite Back. Brene Brown, professor, lecturer, and podcast host. Rachel Cargill, author. Matt Haig, novelist. Hussein Manaver, I think that's how you say his surname. Manaver, poet and mental health guy, who talks about mental health. Naomi Osaka, a tennis player. All right, let's continue. What I am absolutely perplexed by is Harry and Meghan's hypocrisy and tone deafness. We all know by now that regardless of what they are saying, they are actually keeping tabs on what we are saying on social media and what the newspapers are printing about them. So how can they not know that we are sick and tired of millionaires and billionaires complaining and preaching to us? Poor Elton John having to do his AA meeting via Zoom, while his housekeeper and secretary are bouncing along, seeing to his every need, not to talk about his kids' nanny or nannies. I know illness does not discern between rich and poor, but it certainly does when it comes to the treatment thereof. Think private jets, private hospitals, versus having to isolate in your home, hoping to stay alive. We all know that the strength of your immune system to a large extent depends on how much stress you experience, what you eat, and overall healthy lifestyle, which includes regular exercise, etc. With a property of 18,000 square feet on 5 acres of land, 9 bedrooms, 16 bathrooms, a library, a spa, sauna, games room, arcade, movie theatre, wine cellar, and garage for 5 cars, outdoor swimming pool, and play area for Archie, Meghan and Harry have everything they need without ever needing to leave their home in order to maintain the healthy lifestyle required to keep them safe from disease. Or shall I say, from the current disease. Now, I'm not someone who begrudge others what they have. I'm old enough to know that the rich provide job and thus survival for the lesser fortunate, etc. Therefore, when it comes to someone like Tyler Perry and even Elton John, I applaud them. They worked hard for what they have, and they worked over many years to achieve what they have. But what had Harry and Meghan done? Harry has what he has purely because of who he is. He could have stayed in bed all of his life and would still have had what he has. But I guess even that is neither here nor there. He could not choose his parents. What does make me really angry is the fact that it now transpires that Harry and Meghan are still receiving money from the Duchy of Cornwall. Dear Lord, how tone deaf and blind can anybody be? Britain is seeing a rise in pandemic figures due to the new strain. People are losing their jobs, businesses are closing down, NHS cannot deal with the pressure. People are dying, and not just due to the pandemic, but also due to issues related to circumstances surrounding the lockdown. Depression, suicide, stress, domestic violence, etc. I would really like Charles and Harry to answer me this. How many British lives could have been saved by £2.4 million? I'm also told that Charles, i.e. the Duchy of Cornwall, is still paying for Harry and Meghan's security, or at least a portion thereof. But that is another discussion for another day. The point is, Harry is no longer a royal. Maybe in name, but definitely not in action. William and Catherine are still working royals. They still have operational offices, which requires attention, taking calls, dealing with correspondence and charities, etc. Neither of them can have or do have other jobs. Being royal is their job. Harry and Meghan, on the other hand, now do have other jobs. Netflix, Spotify, Archwell, and God alone knows what else. These projects, in my opinion, unfairly, also pays them more than it does anyone else trying the same platforms. And not because they are so brilliant, but purely because they call themselves Prince, Duke, and Duchess. Having said all this, how can they not understand that the majority of us do not want to hear them talk about the hardships of others? They are not leaders of anything, not a country or any institution working for the benefit of the community at large. In my opinion, their narcissism is now off the charts. And is it just my sensitive imagination, or did the podcast have a rather political slant? I mean, honestly, Stacey Abrams, a Democratic politician, did they have to invite her? Or are they telling us something? Or are they advertising where their loyalty lies? Whatever their motive was, it is abundantly clear as to where they are leaning politically. And like I've said many times before, the last time I heard royals are supposed to be politically neutral. And then we must also remember that Harry is supposedly on a diplomatic visa, which also prohibits him from interfering in another country's politics. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so let's talk about Archie's contribution to the podcast. Right off the bat, I want to call BS. Firstly, I have a granddaughter who is biologically 2 months younger than Archie, and I had 2 kids of my own and inherited a stepdaughter who was 18 months at the time. All of them are academically and intelligence-wise average, above average, and advanced. And neither one of them spoke that clearly at 19 months. My granddaughter has a vocabulary of approximately, say, 15 words, which, according to her specialists and pediatrician, is completely on par with her age group. But never mind that. They could still have convinced me right up to the moment that they added that canned laughter. Oh my word. One could actually hear the second-hand download as the depth, for lack of a better word. I'm not a musician. I really don't know what the right term is. So I'm going to call it the depth. One could actually hear the secondhand download because the depth of the sound of the child's laughter differs from the rest of the podcast. Yeah, it's not called canned laughter for nothing. Remember the term canned laughter? In the old days when we had television programs or comedies which were supposedly taped in front of a live audience, but wasn't necessarily taped in front of a live audience, well, then they used canned laughter, and that's where the term comes from. Now, the laughter of the supposed Archie definitely sounds like canned laughter. I see that some posters on Instagram pages are speaking about the fact that the Archie voice is actually Meghan's voice, which had been altered. And having listened to it again, I would not be surprised at that at all. It could very well be. I tried to have a look and see whether I could produce something similar, and it is quite possible. One can run a voice through a filter and choose an accent or a different sound. I could, for instance, run my voice through this app and select a British accent, and it will change what I have to say. You can also change your voice to a male voice, for instance. So it is not that far-fetched to believe that this was quite possible. And now to the crux of the matter. By the time you hear this video on this channel, we will probably have 24 hours left before it is actually 2021. And my question to all of you out there is the following. How long does Harry and Meghan, or the royal family for that matter, expect us to put up with these two hypocrites, liars, and narcissists? I know that they are free people and they could probably say and do what they want. But as the royal family is supported by British taxpayers, etc., and income from people from other countries via tourism, I do believe that they have a much larger responsibility than all of us to be open and honest. And I, for one, can no longer stand all this secrecy and hiding of the fact. Enough. Enough. None of us can actually say for sure that Archie was born via surrogate. None of us can actually say for sure whether they have or they don't have an Archie. But whatever the case may be, the time has come. 2021 is the year for the truth. And like with everything else, the pandemic and all the ensuing issues, politics, etc., the time has come for the truth. The British royal family owes the world, not just the British people first and foremost, but they owe the world the full truth and nothing but the truth. Because if they don't come out with the truth, I'm actually predicting that this will be the end of them. And for me, in my opinion, and how I feel about the scenario, that would be a darn pity. It is something that attracts one to Britain. It is something which one follows as a foreigner. We all follow the British royal family. We do follow British politics a little. We do follow all kinds of other news, but not to the extent that we actually follow the British royal family. But they are now fast losing us. So, my friends, I hope you understand how I feel. I hope that my explanation of my feelings on the podcast is clear. I mean, no disrespect to anybody. All I'm asking for is the truth. It is time. Okay, so that is that. I'll be back tomorrow or the day after with yet another chat. And meantime, behind the scenes, I'm doing a lot of research. So within the next week or so, you guys can look forward to brand new material. So until then, from me it is bye.